But before we go to main CSS to over here style our contact section, I just want to show you one problem with this our portfolio carousel, right? So what happens if we make it to a bigger screen, right? So I'm gonna maximize it over here. What happens is because we set 4 images, right? We have over here missing these nav, right? And with these little dots, right? That would actually point which image is, right? Because we set the value to be 4, right? So what we would need to do is we should change that, right? So I'm gonna again over here, I'm gonna minimize this so I can fit both screens on the same side, right? Over here. And if we go back to script.js over here, and if we actually set this to 3 images, this is actually gonna fix that, right? Because now, again, another way would be adding more images to this section, right? But I just don't want to do that. But in general, therefore, I just set it for 3 images right now. And therefore, this little navigation, right, is also going to be on a bigger screen, right? So this would be the fix, right? So let's go right now to main CSS, right? And let's start styling over here this section, right? The map and a contact us, right? So we go over here, we can close the script, and we go again all the way in the bottom, and we're gonna create a little bit more room over here like this, and we're gonna add a couple of comments over here, right? We're gonna say over here that this is gonna be our comment, and we're just gonna say that this is gonna be we're gonna say that this is gonna be a contact, right? Section over here like this. And we're gonna just copy and paste this, and over here we're gonna say that this is gonna be the end, right? End of contact section, right? We would want to select the whole section over here, and I'm gonna write contact over here like this, and I'm gonna say that the background color should be a orange one, right? So we're gonna change some things around. We're gonna say background color should be a over here F, right? F15025, right? Now there's going to be a couple of problems over here with this underline, but for general purpose, this is what we would want, right? Over here. And then we're going to set a color, right, to be white smoke over here like this, right? Something like this. And over here, let's add padding, 40 pixels by 0 pixels, right? Over here, something like this. And then later on, let's go right away to the contact, right? To where we have our actual, not only font awesome underline, right? But we want the whole thing, right? So if we go all the way to the top, right? Where we had our font awesome underline, right? So we're just gonna go over here. We're just gonna copy this one, right? And we're gonna say this is gonna be a copy. Over here like this. Then we're going to go all the way to the bottom again, and we're going to paste it over here, but we're going to write in front of over here, we're going to say contact, right? Contact. And now we're just going to change this color, right? We're obviously going to change it to something like black, right? So we're going to say 353 over here, and this is going to be a 531, right? 531. Right, so now this is going to be a black color, and obviously what we would need to do is over here, you see this over here, this underline, right? This is what we also would need to change, right? So we're going to go over here, and we're going to copy and paste this one, copy, and over here we're going to paste it over here, and we're going to say contact, and we're going to say that this is going to be a background, right? Background color, and we're going to say that this is going to be a different background color, right? We're going to say that this background color is actually going to be a orange one, right? So we're going to go back over here, and we're going to say that this is going to be orange, right? So we're going to say F over here 15025, right? Now the problem, the actual thing disappeared, right? So again, we would need to go all the way to the top and find where we had our font awesome actual icon, right? Where we had it changed, right? and we had it over here, right? We had a font awesome after, right? This is where we added this color, right? So we were gonna copy and paste this one over here. Copy and paste over here. And we're gonna say over here, paste, and we're gonna add a contact over here. And we're gonna say that this is gonna be a different one, right? We're gonna say that this is gonna be a color, right? And the color is gonna be, let's give it a different color. Let's give it a color, let's say again, black, right? Over here like this. Now, I just noticed we actually could have done it over here, right? So I made a mistake. My bad. If we just copy this one over here and paste it, it will do the same thing, right? So we can actually delete this, right? So we just need to change around this one, right? And everything else is going to stay the same, right? Now, one more thing, probably for this contact, we're going to need to do the same thing over here with a actual header, right? So again, we're gonna copy this one, right? Over here, this quotes header, over here like this, and we're gonna say a contact header, right? Contact header, right? And again, we're gonna add the same thing, contact header, right? And now we have over here this little margin, right? Well, padding actually, not a margin, right? And now let's move on and let's actually start a styling contact forms, right? So we're gonna say first is form control, right? Control over here like this, and you can see that we're actually styling all of them. And we're gonna say that we would want to get rid of these borders, right? Because border radiuses, right? Because for some interesting reason, I mean, I like them, but in general, people always want to avoid them, right? They want to make them square. So we're gonna say over here border, right? Radius, and we're going to say that this is going to be 0, right? So you can see over here that now we have a border, we have these square corners, right? Once we have made these corners square, we're just going to say that this is going to be a font size, and we're just going to add a font size to be something like 20 pixels, right? So we're just going to make them a little bit bigger. Then the next thing that we want to do is actually style the button, right? So we're going to write a contact, and over here we're going to say button over here like this, and now you can see that it's selecting button. And we're going to say a background color over here, and we're going to say this is going to be 3-5 again 3, and over here we're going to say 531, right? 531, right? So we have that, and then we're going to give it a different font size. Over here we're going to say font size 24 pixels, right? Then after that, we're going to say that this is going to have a different color, right? The color is always going to be this orange one, right? So we're going to go F15025 over here like this. And again, we're going to add a little bit of margin, right? I'm going to say margin bottom, right? We're going to say something like 20 pixels, right? So we got a little bit of margin. Now we want to change a little bit once we're hovering, right? So we write contact over here button, and then we're going to write a pseudo class hover over here like this, and then we're going to say a background color. We're going to use a gray one, so this is going to be C over here, E, D, 0, and this is going to be CE, right? So this is once we're hovering, right? So C over here, right? And the color is going to be the black one, right? So I'm just going to copy and paste this one over here, and we're just going to say that color, right, is going to be the black one, right? So once we hover, you can see how it's going to be changing, right? Now what I would want to do over here is actually work with these paddings, padding left, padding right, for these ones, right? So because I want actually extend them a little bit more, right? I don't like over here that it's actually, there is these spaces, right? However, I don't want to affect over here this iframe, right? That's why I added that class, right? So what we would do over here is we would go over here, and again, we would write that we would want a contact ID, then we want a class of column small over here 6, right? but then not including the iframe, right? So we're gonna write that, and we're gonna use that iframe class, right, that we created, right? And over here, we're gonna select all of them, and you can see that we're selecting all of them apart from the iframe one, right? Because we excluded it over here. And we're gonna say that the padding left is gonna be, let's say, something like 5 pixels, right? And padding right over here is also gonna be 5 pixels, right? So you can check it out over here, how it looks like. If we go to the bigger screen, right? If we go a little bit up, right? So now you can see over here that we have this section, right? Over here, that we extended actually these paddings, right? Now what we also want to do is for this column 12 to do the same thing, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy some of it, right? So we're going to copy this one, and we're going to create a little bit more room. And over here, we're going to delete this iframe because we don't need it anymore. We already included over here. And now they all are spanning. Actually, only 5 pixels left and right, right? So if we go back and just scroll up, right? So now you can see how it would look like our contact section, right? So the last thing that we would need to do is actually only add a footer.